The end of another decade is upon us, which means I had to do something special to commemorate the occasion. What a decade for film it has been. So many life-changing and game-changing movies have graced the cinema screens over the past 10 years. Today I'm going to be taking a closer look at 10 of my favorites, one for each year of the 2010s. So strap in for an epic list worthy of the last decade. "2010, Easy A." We start off the 2010s with the fantastic film that made Emma Stone a star. It is easily, pun intended, one of the best teen films of recent memory. Emma Stone stars as the quirky and lovable Olive Pendergast, who finds herself in a complex situation at high school. Unpopular boys pay her to pretend that they slept together to mutually boost their reputations. And while she doesn't mind at first, her life begins to unravel in hilarious and sad ways. Stone's turn here is still my favourite role that she has ever performed. I love how honest, down-to-earth and relatable Olive is. She is a breath of fresh air every second that she's on screen. Other standout players include Stanley Tucci and Patricia Clarkson as Olive's amazing parents, Thomas Hayden Church as teacher Mr. Griffith, and Amanda Bynes as holier-than-thou Christian Marianne. An Easy A rewatch is definitely worth your time. "2011, Black Swan." Almost 10 years after its release, Black Swan easily remains one of my favourite films of all time, not just of the decade. This is the tale of up-and-coming ballerina Nina Sayers and her journey from casting to performing the lead in Swan Lake. Natalie Portman gives the best performance of her career as Nina. You are with her every step of the way as the role consumes her and she loses her mind in the process. Darren Aronofsky's exceptional direction really works beautifully with such a psychological film. He lets the lines between reality and fantasy blur brilliantly, something he is always a natural at. I just love the parallel between Nina and the White Swan Odette, and Mila Kunis's Lily and the Black Swan Odile. This, of course, shifts as Nina begins to see herself as both the white and black swans, and she loses her grip on reality completely. Visually stunning, this is a tragic story you cannot take your eyes off of. 2012, The Avengers. It's hard to imagine a time before this movie existed. This was a groundbreaking film and it still holds up today as one of the best superhero movies ever made. The first phase of the MCU culminated in our heroes Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye teaming up together to save the world from the villainous yet misunderstood Loki. This echoes the plot of the very first Avengers comic. The story has depth and complexities that separate it from so many other comic book movies. The characters on both sides of the conflict are relatable, far from perfect, and fascinating to watch. But when it comes down to it, the heroes and the villains fulfill their roles, and it's how they do so that keeps you coming back to rewatch The Avengers again and again. The performances are mesmerizing, as are all of the visual spectacles. It's ridiculously entertaining and will always have a special place in my heart. 2013, The Conjuring. The horror genre found its return to form with this James Wan masterpiece. Heavily inspired by classic films such as The Exorcist, Poltergeist, and the Amityville Horror, what The Conjuring lacks in body count will make up for with its ability to scare the pants off of you. Based on the true story of the Perron family living in a haunted farmhouse, real-life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren are asked to save the family from a vengeful spirit. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga play Ed and Lorraine exceptionally well and make for captivating lead characters. The Conjuring not only unleashes the fear of the Perron haunting, it also introduces us to Annabelle, the famous possessed doll. She, along with the huge success of this film, sparked the Conjuring movie universe. But for me, nothing compares to the sheer brilliance of this first film. 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy. We are Groot. The MCU dived headfirst into the sci-fi genre with this game-changing film. The risk in adapting a little-known comic book series for cinema-going audiences paid off bigger than anyone could have predicted. The Guardians of the Galaxy have become a pop culture phenomenon and are now household names. This is a brilliant adventure film that you will love every second of. A group of misfits, Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot team up to escape a prison and remain together to save the galaxy from Ronan the Accuser. This film also helped to advance the overall plot of the Infinity Saga with the inclusion of Thanos and the backstory on the Infinity Stones themselves. Guardians of the Galaxy is such an easy rewatch because it contains all of the things that make a movie so great: heart, humor, and pure entertainment. And the killer soundtrack doesn't hurt either. 2015, Crimson Peak. Another film that could work its way onto my favorites of all time list is this Guillermo del Toro work of art. Crimson Peak is a criminally underrated and underloved ode to definitive tales of gothic romance. Mia Wasikowska portrays aspiring novelist Edith Cushing as she falls prey to the dark clutches of the Sharp siblings. Edith is swept off her feet by the dashing Sir Thomas, played by Tom Hiddleston, a Byronic hero if there ever was one. Hiddleston naturally slips into this mysterious and charming character with ease. Meanwhile, Sir Thomas's unhinged sister Lucille, played masterfully by Jessica Chastain, is an ever-lingering presence that threatens to destroy their love. The aesthetics of Crimson Peak are beyond beautiful. From the intricately detailed costumes to the looming presence that is Allerdale Hall, you will be entranced by this film from start to finish. (2016) Captain America: Civil War. This was basically an Avengers movie, let's be real. Civil War was a highly anticipated film in the MCU and it shattered expectations incredibly. I still remember watching it for the first time in the cinema and struggling to believe the sheer awesomeness of what I was seeing. But as mind-blowing as this film was, this has to be one of the most heartbreaking Marvel movies. Our heroes were divided, manipulated by a misguided government and a hate-filled villain in Zemo, and both came at the Avengers as a result of the destruction their heroics had caused. And then of course there was the Winter Soldier twist that set Iron Man and Captain America fighting to the death. It is beautifully written and shot, and for a film that contains so much, including the introductions of both Black Panther and Spider-Man, the pacing is perfect. The airport battle still remains one of my favorite MCU sequences ever put to film. 2017, Thor Ragnarok. Whether you love or hate the change in tone of the Thor franchise, there is no denying that Ragnarok is a fantastic film. Director Taika Waititi brought his trademark humor and directorial skills to the third Thor film, making it a super enjoyable and thrilling ride. It is visually and aesthetically gorgeous, from the amazing opening on Muspelheim to the always stunning Asgard and the colourful Sakaar. Teaming up Thor with the Hulk was an inspired choice, as was incorporating the Planet Hulk storyline from the comics. New characters such as Valkyrie, Hela, and especially Korg steal the show, but it always comes back to the brotherly bond between Thor and Loki. Their scenes together are wonderful to watch as always, as are their respective performances, and it was so great to finally see Loki on a path to redemption.
The revolution has begun!
2018, Avengers Infinity War. Superhero fans have been truly blessed over recent years, but it was the two-part climax of the MCU's Infinity Saga that gave us something really special. With Avengers Infinity War, the fight against Thanos approached its conclusion as the Mad Titan finally decided to collect all 6 stones and set the universe perfectly balanced by wiping out half of its population. For a franchise notorious for killing off characters and bringing them back to life, it was truly shocking to see some permanent deaths involving some of our favourite characters. And then of course there was the brutal destruction of most of our heroes as Thanos saw himself victorious.
I don't want to go, sir, please.
The action and the humour had never been better, and the stakes had never been higher.
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
Infinity War brought the Avengers to their knees, and audiences to the cinema in droves. A brilliantly executed piece of filmmaking. 2019, Avengers Endgame. The conclusion of the war against Thanos and the Infinity Stones was beyond anything I could have ever dreamed of. It wrapped up 11 years of storytelling practically perfectly, giving 3 of our Avengers poetic yet heartbreaking send-offs.
And I am Iron Man.
The plot sees our heroes using time travel to fetch the Infinity Stones before Thanos could get his hands on them. Endgame revisits multiple MCU movies in beautiful ways, particularly with Thor: The Dark World and the first Avengers film. But nothing could have prepared us for the sheer scale and dictionary definition epicness that we saw unfold on the big screen. The biggest highlight for me, of course, was seeing Captain America worthy of wielding Mjolnir. For a 3-hour movie, the pacing is superb. No single moments dragged or brought the plot to a stop. Everything flowed and looked and sounded awesome in the process. Robert Downey Jr., however, must receive accolades for his portrayal of Tony Stark. I love him 3000. There you have it, cinephiles. Those are my 10 favourite films from the last 10 years. Let me know what yours are by commenting below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Fred the Alien for more videos just like this one. You can also find me on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and Spotify as one of the hosts of a podcast called Fred and the Monthly at Winifred's. I've been a Kendall Richardson and you've just experienced collectible chaos.